This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Marc Ebinger and Jenevy Sims. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that highlights and promotes entrepreneurs to learn more about their vision, goals, and marketing strategy. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Erica Banda, a local entrepreneur who is building an event coordination business while working a full-time job. Erica, I'm glad to see you here at the show. Erica Banda is the owner of Texas Picks Photo Booth and CasaBanda Events. Both businesses helped the latest Let's Talk Business podcast, Mega Mixer, become a huge success. Erica, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I'm so glad to be here today.
I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that specializes in hiring skilled virtual assistants from outside the United States.
And I'm your co-host, Jenevy Sims, with the Evolve Firm, where we create innovative and creative solutions for small businesses. And we're excited to have you today, Erica. Good morning.
Good morning.
A quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media, where you can catch video versions of the show. Video is really where it's at. I don't understand why somebody would make a podcast without video these days. I think we've kind of outgrown that. You can get to everything easily by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. If you're going to be in the San Antonio area on Thursday, May 16th, 2024, be sure to join us at the next Let's Talk Business Mega podcast, Mega Mixer, however you want to say it. We're expecting over 150. The goal is 200 local business owners and entrepreneurs to be on site to mix, mingle, and connect with each other to do more business, which really was what it was all about.
Oh, yes.
At the last one. You can get to all the information from our website at satalkradio.com. Special shout out to Erica. Before we even get into it, you guys did a fantastic job, of course, at the Mega Mixer. It was a lot of fun, and people really enjoyed that photo booth that you guys had laid out.
So we actually have some new stuff coming up for the second one. We are going to sponsor once again, and we have some new things that we're going to bring out to help all these entrepreneurs have a good welcome and network for the new second Mega Mixer. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, I like that. If we can keep leveling up as we go. Yeah. And Jenevy, I know you do like events, special events, and you're like really good at it as well. Did you have any ideas for the next one or suggestions?
Well, I'm curious to know what you're going to be unveiling at our Mega Mixer. So for those of you that are listening, make sure to get your tickets because we want you to be there and be the first to see what CasaBanda Events is going to be bringing to the event. But I would love to see, a lot of events have the 360 photo booths. Yes. They have video booths. I went to an event up in New York, and they had an AI photo booth.
Yes.
Like, my mind was blown.
Well, what does an AI photo booth do? What's different?
You can go in there and create any type of virtual experience background going on. Like, if you wanted to be on the moon in a business suit, then you just put all those prompts on the AI, and it pops up.
So I wonder if you could set that for the event. In other words, I don't want them creating their own, but maybe if I could create, the Let's Talk Business podcast background or something like that, that could be kind of cool.
That would be funny to have all the hosts surrounding them.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to do the red carpet coming in from the door up to the registration table. I think that's going to be huge. And then have a photographer there to take pictures as they're coming with the co-host of the show. And then I'll try and be there as well. But I think really doing a lot of that.
Yeah,
when
a lot
they first
of
come
extra
in, make you feel welcome. It's like, here, we're excited that you're here, and we're going to be working to help get you connected to other people here. And that's really what that event is all about.
Exactly. It's going to be unlike any other. So when you come in there, come with the expectation of connecting with other entrepreneurs like Erica that we have here in our show today. And, of course, Mark and myself and the other great hosts that we have on our show. And you will be surprised the type of atmosphere that is in that place. In Project Cowork and Central, we've heard so many testimonials, so many businesses that have evolved from that evening alone. And so we're excited to see what's going to happen at the next one.
Yeah, I think the idea, if you set the pace as soon as they come in, that they're welcome and that we're going to help them connect with people, I think it changes everything, right? It's different than mixers where you kind of come in, sign up, and walk around, and you're like, what's going on?
Right.
Yeah. So I've actually made a lot of connections since that evening. I actually teamed up with one of the travel agents that I recently met at that mixer, and on destination weddings, and finding her a point of contact that can actually plan a wedding in Italy.
Wow.
So that's something that's, very interesting. But also, I wanted her to assist my current clients with planning a honeymoon.
Wow,
So that was
that's
something that,
phenomenal.
I really appreciated, was actually getting to meet these different entrepreneurs in different backgrounds, but having them not only help me with executing a different source of a different field of my coordination, but also getting them the resources that they might need to continue their business and
There
build
you
it.
go. Yeah.
So go through the story of how you got connected with the podcast. How did you find the podcast and then ultimately become a gold sponsor at the last one?
So actually, I had met Samantha Wajardo. She's with Elite Business Link, and she introduced me to the podcast. She told me about it. We were talking, and she said, "Hey, I want you to check this podcast out." And I started looking it up, and as she's talking and telling me about it, she's telling me about Mark and how good he is and the following that he has. And so I'm starting to look it up, and so I start watching the shows. I start telling not only myself but my husband, who's also another entrepreneur in a different field, but about all the different shows and the guests that they have, the relevance of the material that's on there. And I really appreciated that, because sometimes you can watch a podcast, but it may not be relevant to what you're seeing or hearing. But what we saw with this one was the Let's Talk Business was so relevant for us, and even though we were in different markets, but the content, everything was relevant to the local market and the struggles, the successes, everything. And it was amazing to have that. And I feel like, okay, I need to continue watching this. And I actually became a member so that I could continue to keep up with it even after, because I wanted to make sure that, I continued growing, and knowledge is power, so to say.
Absolutely.
So, that was the best thing for me.
And then how did you get connected with the mixer?
So Samantha actually approached me, and she asked me, "Hey, I'm throwing this mixer, I'm helping coordinate it. Do you think you would want to sponsor it?" And I said, "Tell me what I need to do." And so she was telling me what her vision was. And so I told her, "Count me in." And I said, "I'll do it. And my husband's going to do it too." So don't worry about it. We're going to take care of it. And if you need anything else, we're here. We're going to back you up 100%. Because our belief is that if we're helping other small businesses grow, they're essentially helping us grow. Right. And that's what we need. So
very true.
We were really happy with the mixer. We got to meet more people. He got to meet a lot of people in the real estate and lending and all kinds of home inspection areas. And so that really helped him with his business. And I'm looking forward to it, because I got to meet different entrepreneurs from all different aspects. And it helped me to also make ties as well to the community.
Yeah,
and giving back.
You had your photo booth set up, and then you
Yes.
had another table of desserts, right? The delicious desserts.
Yes. So I had the dessert table. I set it up to be like somewhat of what you would see at an event, at a typical event. The photo booth was a hit. I loved creating the templates in the background for what needed to be on there, so that we made sure that it tied back to the Let's Talk Business mixer.
Yeah, it was branded very well.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. So that looked great.
Yeah, and we do that for all of our clients. Everything is 100% customized to fit their vision, their theme, their brand, no matter what it is. And speaking of AI, just so you know, we can actually do green screen with that photo booth. What green screen is we create a template. We put a green screen behind you, but it's something like what they use in motion pictures. So everything's created on the screen in the system. So when you stand in front of it, you're not seeing it on the backdrop, but it's actually there in the system. So
so you can do a whole virtual world. I mean, Mark, you want to put people on the moon.
Right.
You could do that at our mega mixer.
Well, we want everybody talking to everybody. That's like the biggest thing there. So obviously, attending the event's one thing. Being a sponsor at the event is another thing. So being a sponsor at the event versus just attending, what are your thoughts there on, I mean, you were a sponsor, so give me that perspective of how that helped you with your business as opposed to maybe just attending the event.
So I got a lot of people coming up to me asking me, what type of business I was in, what type of events I would coordinate, and then also like how many years I had been in business. Well, come to find out, I've only been in business actually with the photo booth. I'm going on 2 years. The event coordination is just recently relevant. It's only in the last 6 months. But the reason that I built the event coordination was because I wanted to expand the services. So when people were asking me at the event, hey, how long have you been in business? What kind of events have you coordinated? I was mentioning to them the different ones that I've done, even though the brand at that time wasn't created. I established it afterwards, but yeah.
The Erica Banda or the Banda
CasaBanda.
CasaBanda event.
That evolved from the photo booth,
From the
right?
photo booth, yes.
Okay. So when you started the photo booth, was that the need that you were seeing that was attached to that, and that's why you started the event planning side?
I would have so many clientele that would come and ask me, hey, I have this issue that came up at the last minute. What do you suggest I do? And they were trying to find resources or find a vendor at the last minute. And most of the time, the vendors weren't available. So I was like, look, let me see what I can do. So then I would find them. And being that I had more exposure, I figured, well, what better way to expand my network than to create another brand?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into your background, kind of what has led you to the entrepreneurship journey that you're on now. Let's do about 90 seconds of what that would look like.
So I started off my career in law enforcement. I went from law enforcement in 2001 to teaching. Then from teaching, I went into the legal field. And then the legal field is where I'm currently at. That's where I have my full-time job. And but one of the biggest things for me was I wanted the ability to have a more flexible schedule because family is really important to me. And I have a 1-year-old son that I want to spend more time with and have the flexibility to be around for him during the day. And so as I'm working right now, I'm trying to build these businesses to the point where I have that flexibility. I can get out of the full-time 9-to-5 job and go into the business full-time where I have a little bit more flexibility to spend with him.
What about challenges, though? I mean, because entrepreneurship, folks, so they tend to, and Howie's like, this is one of his big things that he likes to talk about is how, entrepreneurship, of course, isn't for everybody. You get started in it, and actually the demands of entrepreneurship can be much greater than just having a job somewhere. How do you find that so far as you're looking at this transition?
So I haven't actually felt as much of the challenges, honestly, just because I'm so organized. I'm a big stickler for organization. And one of the biggest things for me is even when my son's resting, I'm working. And so even if it's late at night, I'm still working. I still have the time to sleep. I do get sleep. It almost seems like I don't, but I do get plenty of sleep. But I love the fact that I'm working on things constantly. Every chance I get, I'm working. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. The challenges do come in the sense that if my son gets sick, sometimes it may take me a little bit longer to respond to emails or text messages. But for the most part, I always tell my clients, I'm available to you at any point in time. If you text me at midnight, you probably won't get a response back until about 6 a.m., but you will get one.
Well, that's one of the greatest assets you need to have as an event planner is to be very organized.
Yes.
To take that into the business aspect as well. I know when I'm working on my branding side, and then I do the event planning side, it definitely helps to be able to multitask and be very organized in both directions, because you got to be able to answer everybody's questions, especially when it comes to the budget, when it comes to the layout, when it comes to different vendors and things like that. And when it comes to event planning, though, how do you see yourself scaling moving forward, even with a full-time job, or is that something that you want to go into full force?
I actually want to go into it full force. I find that being an event planner, it's all about vision. What is the vision for my clients? And that's one of the things that I constantly ask them. When I first meet them, I don't ask them, okay, just this basic information. I ask them, what is your vision? What is the vision that you have for your event? And the reason I ask that, and I ask them about their backstory, because it's not like I tell my husband, it's not just about their event, it's about who they are. So it's the level of service that I'm trying to offer them and give them and provide for them on my aspect, as well as their vendor team. I want them to also have the same type of level of service that they're expecting, not only from me, but from everybody. Because I think it's important for us to, moving forward, that, I want to move into it full time, but I want to make sure that I have the right team behind me.
Oh, absolutely. That's the best thing. You got to have a good team because things will come up. And when things come up, you got to have a plan A through sometimes Z.
Yes.
And be prepared from everything from weather to people not showing up to vendors not showing up. And so I think event planners, they're a special breed because they have that ability to maintain calmness in the midst of a storm. And even when your client is panicking, you're able to calm them down and know that things are working behind the scenes that they're not seeing at the moment. So I want to know, what is some of your tricks of the trade to kind of manage expectations for your clients, and then also manage expectations for your vendors too, because you are right in the middle of both and you're the communicator for both. So if you miscommunicate to one side, the other side might not get that full story and execute the way that you need them to. So what is some of your tips of the trade to really kind of find that good balance in managing expectations on both sides?
I think clear and precise communication across the board is important from the very beginning. And that's one thing that I really stress to all of my vendors as well as my clients, is this is what the expectation is across the board. My clients are very important to me, and I tell them you become part of my family. So essentially, if you're my family, I'm going to make sure that I go above and beyond to take care of you. And the same thing with my clients. I make sure that they're taken care of 100%. And if you read my reviews, you'll see that. That's one of the major things that all of my clients really talk about in my reviews, is the level of service that they have received with me. The clear communication, the amount of time that I spend dedicated to their events, but also more than anything, making sure that what they want gets executed. So the clear communication 100% is my number one priority, is making sure that everybody understands what they're getting into and what's expected of them the day of and even before. So even as we're preparing for it, we're working at it.
So a lot of documentation, I imagine, scheduling.
Yes.
That's going to help, having a documented schedule of how things are going to go from point A to the event, right? From planning to the event. That way, and I don't have this on mine, actually. I should bring this up with Samantha, to where we actually have, this calendar of how things are going to proceed, so that we know we're reaching these benchmarks as we go. And then also how we're going to communicate, right?
Yeah. So one of the best things for me is emails. Everything is emailed. So what I do, especially like with my wedding couples, I give them a month-to-month itinerary of what is expected of them. What are the milestones moving forward from the day one that they get engaged to the day of their wedding? What is expected of them? Now they can move it around, but as they're going through, I have meetings with them, and I meet with them personally so that we can check off what they've accomplished, what they need to work on, and I give them a priority list. And then the day of, we break down everything, time, minute, everything is broken down from getting dressed and taking photos to the ceremony to what small events they're having within the reception, dinner, cake cutting, first dances, introductions, no matter what it is.
What about unexpected challenges with respect to coordinating these types of events?
Those are always fun. Those are definitely fun, and those present probably the most challenges. And we've had that. We've had that from mothers coming in at the last minute and wanting to change schedules, or intervening and wanting to stop things from happening during the events. That has happened as well.
Wow.
And I usually have to step in and tell them I recognize what they're doing, and I can understand and appreciate it, and try, really more than anything, empathizing with what's going on, because I realize there's probably a family dynamic that took place when I wasn't there, but helping them to understand what the vision is for the bride and groom, or for the if it were the corporation, which that has happened too. We had a partner who came up at the last minute and said, I don't want to take part in this anymore. And I said, I understand. You don't have to, but we have to move forward with the event because everything's been scheduled. And they said, well, as long as I don't have to take part, no problem. We'll take care of it. We'll have somebody stand in. We wrote a speech thanking everybody, making sure that they understood there were circumstances that couldn't be avoided. And, we work around it.
Are you talking about on the client side, there was somebody that was supposed to participate that did not?
Correct.
Okay.
The last minute,
Awkward.
the hour before.
Yeah, right.
The hour before they backed out. And that's understandable. But we want to make sure that, the event has to go on.
You got to pivot. You got to figure out a way to pivot when that happens.
We moved on. We wrote a nice little speech, and we thanked everybody for being there and for participating, and we moved on.
Wow. What trends or innovation basically in this industry do you see that's really coming up right now that you think would be really good to implement in your business?
So a lot of the trends, especially with weddings are so expensive nowadays. The biggest thing is multi-day events. So they're having a private, intimate ceremony with just the closest family and friends, and then they're having big parties. They're no longer having the traditional one-day event where everything's happening in one day. You still have those events, but those that can or maybe have a different budget, they're wanting to have just bigger parties. And it's that's one of the biggest trends right now. The other thing is incorporating a lot more of the technology. You have drone photography now, that's kind of taking over. You still have great photographers who are getting more of the candid shots versus the posing traditional shots that they're getting. It's more candid shots of the guests, the couple, the family, even in corporations, they're getting more of the candid shots of the attendees of the event. And that's great because you see them mingling, you see them, networking. And that's the biggest thing is you want to make sure that your intent for the event is actually being executed. And when you see those candid shots, that that's what's happening.
Are you documenting your process as you go? And let me frame this. So when the build up to it, right, or the build out to it is, I think, showcases your ability to do these things. It's not just the finished product, but it's the steps up to it. You know, and reality TV is a bit of that, right? You get to see the behind the scenes. You get to see what's
Yes.
going on. I love watching the whole football thing. There was a whole thing about the 22-23 football season, NFL football season, that my wife and I watch, and she's not a football person, but now she is. Now she likes and appreciates it because she got to get to know a bit about the players, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're the players in that, right? It's like you guys are, if you can document some of these processes going on leading up to big events, I think people would love that kind of content.
Yeah. And I haven't had a chance to really videotape or record a lot of the events, like the backside of it. I record it usually as it's being set up or after it's already set up. But I really haven't done the behind the scenes. I document everything, but I haven't had a chance to really record it. And that's one of the things that I really want to start working with is moving forward.
We know a video company.
So let me give you a tip on that. Is you get a couple GoPro cameras, right?
Yes.
And then you can do the voiceover later.
Okay.
Very budget friendly.
Yes.
Just get the 4K GoPro cameras so that you can zoom in. You can bring it in.
Okay.
If you need help on the video side, I'm sure you can find that or whatever. There's lots of people and places that can do that. But then you just do some voiceover where you talk about, hey, this is what's going on, and try and keep it in not a, okay, we're going this way, but in a very, hey, almost conversational tone. I think people would dig that, especially if you're like maybe talking with your husband or something. That could be super cool, and I think that's super easy and like user-friendly content.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
When I went up to New York at the Event Expo last year, they had a speaker. Her name was Marcy Bloom, and she puts together the high-end celebrity weddings. And one of the things that she brought up was that she actually, to your point, Mark, she has somebody follow her around to be able to show the things that she does with her team to execute this massive multi-million-dollar wedding. So in that way, it kind of gives also the bride and the groom as part of our package.
Oh, okay.
So it gives them more of an appreciation too, and to know, hey, your money it was very well used. And I thought that was one of the greatest things that she had said in that speech, was because you don't think about that as event planners. Our job is to make sure to execute the client's vision. And so it's hard to think about what we're doing when we're focused on them. And so I like that you brought that up, Mark, because it's very important. And you're such at an early age in your business right now that it's a great time to get that content.
Yeah, talk about YouTube content, right? And not only that, but so pricing is something that, I know Samantha's kind of gone through that. I don't know how close you guys are. Your neighbors still, right?
No,
Not
so
anymore?
she's no longer my neighbor. She has her house, and so I don't get to see her as often. Most of the time, it's just through calls and texts, But I know she's shared with me. We've had multiple conversations about the struggles that I've had with the photo booth business, and what I wanted to get to. And actually, she was the one that really kind of motivated me to really kind of expand on the event coordination, because she kept talking about networking and, meeting all these people. And so I actually attended some of her first events, and I sponsored one of them where I put up the photo booth and everything. And I got to meet a bunch of different entrepreneurs. And so I have sponsored some of their events as well, which was great, because what I love about it was I got to not only expose my business, but I got to meet more people. And so the networking just grew, the number of people that I'm getting to meet. And then if something comes up and I remember, hey, I know that person can get, what I need, or if their service is something that I'm looking for or that a client is looking for, then I refer them out,
And if you're documenting your process as you go, like photography, videography, and that kind of stuff, and then you've got client reviews, you've already won an award on the Knott's Best of Weddings 23-24. It's like you start compiling that, and then you can, charge more and more and more. From a business angle, you can get and then that frees you up to do more of what you love. What type of, I know you do weddings, right? But what type of events others are you coordinating?
So I've done corporate events, I've done retirement events, military events as well. One of the biggest things for me is thanking first responders and military clientele for their service. I realize it's sometimes a thankless job for them. Sometimes they feel like they sacrifice so much, and I want to give them recognition where recognition is due. And so, especially when I have clientele, that's one of the first things I ask them. If they're first responders or they're militaries, I want to extend them, a special discount or additional time for their services at no charge, because it's important to me for them to get that additional praise, and recognition. So
That's amazing. That's really sweet.
So when it comes to keeping events on budget, is this an easy thing to do or is it more difficult?
It actually is a lot more difficult sometimes. And as, of course, the markets are changing, demands are changing, that is becoming harder to do, but it is possible. In fact, I had a client call me a couple weeks ago, and he said, I'm going to propose to my fiance or my girlfriend. I need to know, can I keep it under 50,000? And I said,
The proposal?
no, the wedding.
Oh, okay.
The whole wedding, yeah.
That's a
Dude,
big
yeah, we can
proposal.
totally do that.
Yeah, no, the whole wedding. He was like, can I keep it under 50? He's like, because I want
That's
to
a
buy
tough
some
one.
more properties. But in order for me to do that, I can't afford to spend that much. And I said, well, even at 50,000, that's a lot of money. But what is your vision for it? And I said, because I know him, I've known him for years. And I knew that he wasn't the type of person that was a very loud person. He's not a very showy person. He's very mellow, very calm. And I know his girlfriend is too. So I was like, I don't know how big of a party y'all are going to have, but you can definitely keep it under budget if you kind of keep your guest list limited. And he said, well, the most important thing to me is having that one-on-one time with her and our families. So, well, then you can definitely keep it under budget if you keep it small.
Right.
That's definitely something you can have luxury, but you're just going to have to keep it under a certain number of guests, and we can definitely do that. But it does present its challenges. I've had brides that want services that are way above their budget, and unfortunately, at that point, we kind of have to find a compromise because we can't give them what they're wanting. We've had some brides that want an open bar, but they don't have the budget for an open bar. And liquor is pretty expensive, but because you not only have to have liquor, or you have to have a licensed bartender, you have to usually have security. Most venues do require that you have security if you're serving alcohol. And so with that being said, it increases the amount of budget that you are required to have.
I picked up on something you said, and I think it's the way you're phrasing it. But so it seems like the requests for the higher ticket items are going to come from the brides most often.
Yes.
Is that true? Okay. So
Oh, yeah.
Is it like what percentage? Is it 95%? Is it 100%? Is it 8?
I would say actually about 95% of it comes from the brides. I would say another 2% comes from the mom of the bride, and then probably another 2% comes from the groom.
Really? What's the groom asking for?
I've had grooms ask for very elaborate groomsmen quarters.
The hangout pad?
Yeah, the
That's
hangout pad
funny.
before the big ceremony. I've had one that wanted a nice Airbnb that had, they had a pool, that had a hot tub, that they had a game room, they had big screen TVs, but they wanted it in such a style. They wanted a specific style for it because they said they wanted a man cave that was going to describe the type of person he was. And at first I was like, okay, well, we can definitely look for it. I don't know that I can find you specifically every detail, but it might be a little bit more expensive. And
Well, you can find the place and then use a staging company maybe to stage
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right. How did you
That's
deal
with
with
the
that? Or did
budget.
you just tell him no?
No, so we actually didn't tell him no. We actually we did work with a staging company that had kind of a game room set. So they had a ping pong table that they brought in. It was a small one. It wasn't anything big. They already had a pool table in the house that was in the game room. And then what we did is we took pictures of him in the den, in the den from the Airbnb, and that had kind of like a library, and it kind of gave off a different vibe. So he got to, his thing was he wanted to look good in the photos and with his groomsmen, and he was a big chess buff, so we put a chessboard next to him, so it looked good.
Nice.
So what's that? I mean, what does that do to your timeline, and what's that do to the budget? I'm curious what something like that would give me a ballpark on what it would cost to do
So
something like that.
the staging was a little bit more expensive. We were looking at anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000
Just for the staging.
just for the staging.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've got it, flaunt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what was, I am curious though, what was the most extravagant request you've ever gotten from a wedding?
From a wedding, I would say the most extravagant was they wanted a helicopter ride around San Antonio.
Nice.
That's
Did you make that
extravagant. I'm
happen?
thinking that's natural, right?
Yeah.
Getting married in San Antonio, it's a
mean,
great
why
place to
not?
fly.
Yeah,
a helicopter.
they wanted a helicopter ride.
Sweet.
Fine.
Wait. Where did they land? Did they land where did they take off in the landing? That's important, right?
It was actually downtown.
Okay, so it wasn't from the airport. It was from someplace downtown.
Yeah. Just
Like
from downtown.
rooftop or what?
It was a rooftop in downtown.
That's so cool. If you tell me it was the top of the Tower of Americas, I'm going to pass out.
No.
Right on that needle point.
Yeah, no, it was downtown. It was actually one of the hotels downtown.
Nice. I didn't even know you could do that.
I wasn't aware that you could do it either until the groom was actually the one that looked up all the information because he was adamant he wanted to do that.
Nice. What does that run? Do you remember how long ago
I
was
don't
it?
remember. His mom and him were really the ones that coordinated it and just really let me know, like, hey, this is something we want to do. And I was like, okay. Well,
I'm thinking at least 10 grand for something like that.
So-
I don't know.
Over. It's
Yeah,
gotta
maybe
be
over.
over. I mean,
Go in
especially
style.
downtown.
Okay, so what kind of tools do you use to keep your events organized? If you just say Google Spreadsheet, then
no,
that's fine, but I'm curious.
I use everything from Microsoft Office to Adobe to Canva to all kinds of different computer programs, and really just even paper, pencil, calendar. I mark my calendars 3 times. So I mark a physical calendar, my phone calendar, and my computer calendar.
Gotcha.
And so I have multiple calendars going, alerting me of all my deadlines coming up.
So virtual staffing's my thing, right? I mean, I know the power of it running
Yes.
right alongside me and all of that and keeping me so organized, right? Having that right-hand person to just make sure that things are moving along helps keep me in. So what do you, as you scale, how do you see yourself handling the demands of all of that on you? Because there's only so much mental bandwidth that we can really do and then still keep our creative side alive, our communication alive.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with that?
So right now, I actually work with a couple of different vendors that I actually get to we're constantly having discussions and meetings, and I delegate some of the tasks off to them. I'm actually preparing right now for a style shoot at a new venue that's about to open. They're finishing up construction right now, and I wanted to help them out because they are very, very new to the industry. And in order to do that, I decided to sponsor a style shoot for them and bring new wedding vendors who are also new to the industry onto their style shoot so they can get exposure. And in doing so, they'll be able to build their brands.
So somebody listening, and this is really kind of about you packaging your business in a way that attracts your clients. If a client is out there shopping for somebody to handle a big event, right, a wedding or a big corporate event, and they're going to run across this or a clip of this, what is it? How are you going to stand out to where they should choose you over somebody else in the San Antonio area to run their event?
There are lots of great event planners, of event coordinators in the area. There are some that are very well experienced and everything. The difference, I think, between me and them is, like I said before, they become part of my family. And the level of service that I provide to them is just one thing that I really, really focus on. The level of communication, the level of attention that they get from me personally, as well as the other vendors that I work with. They're always going to know and feel confident in that we know what we're doing, and they're going to get exactly what their vision is.
Cool, I like that. And so one of the things that impressed me with when Samantha came in and helped me with my event was her ability to find sponsors, because it's like that was one of the main reasons I brought her in, is because I was like, I'm trying to keep this organized and I can't stay on top of it because I got too much to do.
Yeah.
So how do you help with whoever needs sponsors? How do you help them deal with that situation? Maybe finding them or keeping them organized or whatever else?
So having the ability to work with so many vendors and getting to know them and getting to know not only them in a professional level, but on a personal level, allows me the ability to team up and actually pair them off. Because since I know them at a personal level, I know what types of goodwill that they're willing to extend and team up with. So when I have a corporate client who wants to team up with a specific type of vendor because they're wanting to make sure that that vendor's seeing the same type of vision that they have, finding those commonalities is what's really important to me. And once I find them and I see them, I team them up so that they can continue. And most of the time, they've been able to build on those. I really haven't had any issues with that yet. They've been able to really build and that relationship, and it's blossomed, which is great.
So you're a master connector too, like Marc over here. That's
fun.
part of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's your goal with the business?
So my goal is actually the same thing, to grow within the local area, to provide the type of service that I'm providing at new levels, and meeting not only the wedding clientele, the corporate clientele, but every type of event out there, whether it's something small, whether it's something big. I want to be able to serve my clients and to also be able to give back to the community. Giving back to the community is really something that's deep in my heart. I've been around in different avenues of events, and I've gotten to be an attendee, I've gotten to be a sponsor. But one of the biggest things for me is making sure that I give back to the community that served me, that has helped me grow. And I want to be able to continue to do that.
I know part of the way we do that at the Let's Talk Business podcast is by, bringing a nonprofit into the mixer so that we can give back that way. What are some ways that you see yourself doing that with respect to your company?
So last year, what we did is we donated the photo booth to several of the high schools. We had the senior classes that were leaving. We wanted to make sure that we gave them a great way to leave their high school years and remember those fond memories with their friends. And so we donated the photo booth for their end of year parties and celebrations. And we did that so that they could have fun. It was something they could remember, and they got to have access to what we call the live gallery, and they got to continue building on that gallery no matter whether we were there or not. So
when you're picking like a vendor you want to work with, right? You want to know about that vendor.
yes.
Okay, this is going somewhere, right? It's even a conversation that we had.
Right.
So by documenting and actually putting out there that you're working with certain nonprofits or you've done work with certain nonprofits, it helps showcase the heart of the business, right? Some people might get in their own way and say, you know what? I don't want to talk about that because that's like a private thing to do. You know what I mean? They want to keep it to themselves. I don't want to brag about what we're doing or whatever. But see, I see it differently. I see it as showcasing the heart of your company so that you can attract other people that have that same idea that you have. So when it comes to documenting and putting out there what it is you're doing with nonprofits or with special causes or giving back to the community, are you doing that yet?
I'm actually not. So I focus solely on their event. I don't deliver it or message it in a way where I'm saying I'm giving this back. I just want them to see the event. And the only reason I do that is because I don't want it to make it seem like it's only focused on me. I want them to focus on the cause at hand. So
that's great.
I disagree with the mindset. But where do you? I do, because
you disagree with it. No, it's great. It's a humbling.
It's humbling
mindset. But I understand what you're saying too, Mark. Is to also let people know what causes align with your business, and that's where, a lot of business owners, and we encourage our business owners to make sure to announce that as well, so that when other people, when I went up to New York, I was telling them at that event expo, they did business a little bit differently than how we do it here in San Antonio. Like when I met with a new individual, one of the first things they said was pull up your Instagram. They wanted to see what philanthropy work I had done. And that opened up a door of conversation. Oh, I see that you guys have a food bank and you're very active in that. Do you know that we do that here? And our company, we like to partner up with other companies that like this particular nonprofit because we give back to them as well. Not in a bragging way, but more in a partnership way. Because now we know that we can align here. This is our meeting point. And from that, you expand your business. So like how your business model is, it's very personable. Make those relationships, make those connections, and from there, business will grow. From there, your network will grow. And in that mix is your philanthropy cause. Why are you doing what you're doing? To be able to give back to your community. Which part? You mentioned the first responders. Great. How are you doing that? And what steps are you taking to get towards that? And that's where when you start creating your branding message, it's not to say, hey, I'm giving back to them all the time. It's to say, hey, they have an event coming up, and we're going to be there. That's how you word that message. This is how we're going to support them. Please come out and join us at this event for our first responders. And that's how you make a difference here in San Antonio, especially because we want to know, who are you aligning with? And why should we do business and partner with you with those reasons?
So just a different way to look at that I think is super important, because that way you'll attract the right folks too. They're like, you know what? They support law enforcement. They support fire department, right? And they'll be like, okay, they're going to be attracted to that. And that's what you want. Yeah. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like, I helped do this and I donated $50,000 to whatever. See, I celebrated when I was like, hey, this is what our ticket sales went. Yeah. People who know 179 tickets were sold, and all to $10 from all of that went straight over to that's important. I wasn't bragging. That's just like saying, this is what happened.
Absolutely important.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Erica, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
So they can actually reach me on the Texas Picks Photo Booth website, which is Texas Picks Photo Booth, spelled out, .com, or they can reach me through Instagram at TXPIX Photo Booth. And then, or they can call me or text 210-778-2848.
All right, awesome. Great job, by the way. Was this your first podcast? Or
It is. This is my very first podcast.
You did amazing.
So, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
job.